is going to be about transformation. And at this point, I'm going to ask Danny to come up on stage. And while he's coming up, you guys just give him a big hand. This is Danny.
Awesome.
All right. So, Danny, transformation. It's a big word. And a lot of people probably think of a lot of things when they think of transformation. But how, through the course of the Revolution journey, did this transformation take place? And why don't you tell us a little bit about where you were before the transformation?
Sure. My story kind of goes back a couple years, just with where I've been, entering the small group atmosphere that we had. And it really takes place because I was in church. I was, kind of doing all the right things, per se. Just, really trying to seek after God. I was leading worship in the church that we used to go to. And I just really felt like I was in a good spot. And I was going to Crossroads, kind of as like a part-time church, if you will. And one day, the church just broke apart. Like, it just completely split down the center. And it really rocked me. It just didn't see it coming, and I just had so much faith and just so much, I don't know, just like this idea built up in God that like things are kind of perfect in church, and that, as long as you're seeking after God, everything's going to work out okay. And when it split, it just really set me in a weird spot. So for the first time, I felt like I was lost. I didn't understand God at the time. I didn't know what he was about, because it's like I've been doing, I've been leading worship, which for me was just kind of like, okay, this is, all I need to do for God, and everything's gonna be perfect, which, is not true at all. But so yeah, like 2 years ago, it just really set me in a bad spot when that happened. And I found myself moved away from where the church was, kind of lived over here in Hyde Park, and that was the season of my life where I just finally said, I don't care. Like I don't care anymore. And I just kind of did whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted.
So you found the fact that you had invested so much time and energy and, your talent into this church, and felt like everything was going the right direction and no bad would come. All of a sudden there's a split in the church, and you're sitting there with this big question mark out there that really didn't have an answer at the time. And so what did you do at that point?
At that point, like I said, I was in that sense of, I just don't care anymore. Whatever happens, happens. I'm just going to go ahead and live life. And whether that meant, doing things I shouldn't do, or just really disconnecting myself from other people, I did that. The idea of, I was playing music and doing that for probably 5 years going into this, and I loved it. And then when that happened, music just became this idea of this disgust. So like, I probably had the guitar like in the case. And, before this, I would play it every day. And then at that point, I just said, forget it. And I didn't play the guitar for like a year and a half, because I was just it just had such bad memories.
So where did the transformation begin?
The transformation took place, that lasted for a while. It was, kind of a rough spot. But where the transformation, as I look back on it, going into the small groups and kind of to set up the transformation in this, I went into it, and people in my small group can kind of hear me out on this one. And we've talked about this, so they're not just hearing this for the first time, but I didn't want to do it. I mean, I was asked to do it, and I liked the idea of it, but I was thinking, oh yeah, that'd be cool. I host a small group at my house and have some friends come over, meeting a couple new people. But it ended up being just a complete group of people I had no idea who they were. So I was like, oh man, I don't want to do this. Like this idea of just inviting, all these people in that I didn't know, I just didn't like it.
So there's some sense of being uncomfortable during that time when you went from being a worship leader to, I don't even want people in a small group, but I'll do it. People keep hounding me about it. So what did you decide to do?
Well, what I did is, at first I was kind of looking for every avenue out of it. I was just, emailing the group. Like, I emailed probably like 4 or 5 times. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Or something. Like,
something like, oh, I'm going to be busy, can't do it. Oh, I have to work that night. Or, I did anything I could just to get out of it. And so I ended up missing the first week, actually. And I just remember the week before we first started, everybody